this is such good news. They need a new TCM. Guys, I just got incredibly lucky. Yes, delivery day. Just kidding, unfortunately that's not mine. But this is... Okay, looks like we have a 2012 Audi Q7 with mechanical damage, 190,000 miles, and an $1,100 price tag to buy it right now. Even though that's a great deal already, I am gonna try and get the best deal possible and submit an offer for $900. Which they did not accept, so we have to do this the old-fashioned way.
Item is next on the block.
We almost had it for under $1,000, but somebody did start bidding against me. Up until, guess what? $1,100.
Bonus time. Sold.
Now, why would I ever spend $2,000 on a high-mileage Audi SUV that seems to have mechanical problems? It's mainly because of this picture right here. But all that we know for sure at this moment is the fact that Copart was able to start it, but not drive it, which is certainly going to be an issue for a transporter who showed up with an enclosed trailer. But luckily he knew exactly what to do in order to bypass the shift lock and get the car into gear. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my brand new Audi Q7. Well, new to me. This thing has like 190,000 miles. All right, this thing, I'm really excited for this one. It's been a little while since I've been excited for a car that I buy because I've been buying some very, very affordable domestic cars that I feel nothing for. This thing, however, I'm a big fan of. I have had one of these for a couple of months before and I loved it, but I needed to sell it to keep my business moving and whatnot. This one, potentially, hopefully, fingers crossed, is going to be for myself as my new business vehicle. As some of you may know, I own a tiny little car dealership. It is very, very humble, but it's mine. And as even less of you may know, my current business vehicle is a Volkswagen Touareg. It is I love that thing. It is a 2004 V8 Touareg, which is great, but it has some major cons that I kind of a little get tired of. This particular model is a car that I've been wanting for a little while to replace that because I think these are great. I just really like these cars. I like this motor. The 3.0 supercharged engine comes in S4s and S5s and A6s, and it is quite a reliable engine. Has a few weak spots, but none of them are catastrophic for the most part. Speaking of weak spots, this car was listed as mechanical damage as a starting vehicle, but not a driving vehicle, meaning that they were unable to get it into gear or at least get it to roll under its own power. It is not a common failure for these to have transmission issues. What is a common failure, there is some grounds, like electrical grounds for the wiring harness under the carpet, which can get wet, and they're very important in the sense that if those grounds corrode and stop making a proper contact, these cars start having very, very major, like what seems to be mechanical issues. And this is what I'm really, really hoping for. I'm extremely, extremely hopeful that all I have is some rusty grounds that will allow this car to run and drive like new. Well, as close to new as possible, considering the fact that it has 190,000 miles. Anyway, I'm holding a screwdriver because there is a little trick to get this car into reverse and drive. Because Copart was unable to do that. There are certain safety systems that prevent you from getting the car out of park because, well, I don't know. They don't want people hurting themselves. But there is a shift lock bypass somewhere in here. Basically, you just got to shove a screwdriver in somewhere and push down on something. Oh, there we go. Yep. As you can see, we can now shift. Fantastic. Another thing that I've noticed in the Copart listing is that this thing doesn't display gear in this lower screen. Usually It will tell you park, drive, reverse. Whatever gear you're in, it tells you about it. That is another reason for me to believe that potentially this car just basically has some sort of an electrical fault and it's not sure what gear it's in, and that's why it never turns off the shift lock. Looks like we have some brand new ignition coils. I'm not confident that they're OEM, but it's okay. Supercharger belt is in great condition. I'm guessing this was replaced quite recently. Unfortunately, the harmonic balancer kind of seems to be stock. This is kind of a common issue on these cars where the harmonic balancer kind of falls apart, the rubber in it. Something I definitely should have done before I even try to start this car is check the oil. Yeah, this thing is definitely at the minimum and it is very, very dark. There is an oil change sticker in the car. It says to return at 182,000 miles on April 20th of 2024, which is 8 months ago. It is 8 months ago and it is 8,000 miles ago. I certainly hope that this oil has been changed and maybe this is just not the most recent sticker, because it does look like whoever owned this car before would do some DIY stuff on it. We have these spray painted calipers, which actually look decent, but you can definitely tell that they were DIY spray painted. There's some overspray on the bleeder valve, and there's like the bolts, the hardware is painted, but the pads look really, really new, so that's very cool. Basically, it seems like this car was owned by some sort of an enthusiast, and you know, they decided to paint the brakes on it. I don't mind it. These cars do have very nice brakes. We have the right to show off, because not every sucker mom car out there will have 6-piston Brembos for their front brakes and 4-piston Brembos for their rear brakes. All right, so we have quite a bit of codes. We have lost communication with the TCM, the transmission control module, ABS control module, check DTCs, secondary air injection system, switching valve, misfire on cylinder 2, misfire on cylinder 4, misfire on cylinder 6. That is a little scary, but I didn't notice any misfires when I started it up, so we're gonna hope that that is like just really old and not something that we need to worry about. By the way, we do have a full tank of gas with this thing, so that's pretty awesome. This is a big tank. This is I think a 22-gallon tank. Having a full one of these is pretty nice. We have 490 miles of range. That is one of the big reasons why I wanted to upgrade this car to a Touareg, because the Touareg, the V8 one especially, gets like 250 miles out of a full tank, which is the same size as this. Like, I don't even get 10 miles per gallon out of that thing. But it is a great car. We're gonna get into the comparison and why I decided to upgrade. Anyway, we have no communication with the TCM. Okay, let's try and dig into why. The transmission control module is located right under the passenger seat. We don't really have to worry about that. What we need to worry about is the wiring that runs to the transmission control module right under this carpet over here. Now, the good news is that this carpet doesn't seem to be soaking wet. I've had Touaregs that were, I mean, just literally ice here. This is not the case. This thing is dry on the top side, meaning that there is some water intrusion going on under the carpet, but luckily not enough to fully soak this thing. I wonder if the previous owners even tried getting this thing diagnosed, and maybe they had a shop tell them that they need a new TCM, and that's when they were like, screw it, we'll send this car to Copart. Here we are. Okay, this is actually pretty dry. I'm not seeing any water in here, but that doesn't mean that this thing cannot be corroded. That is highly, highly possible. And we're gonna look for crappy connections. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna defend Audi engineers or electricians or whatever for doing this, because this was definitely a really dumb idea. They just have very poor connections under these carpets. I mean, I guess they don't really think about the fact that there might be water getting into this, but like this guy over here, we have this blue wire. Looks like there's two going in from this side, one coming out over here, and it's just wrapped up with some fabric tape. And let's see what is hiding beneath it. There we go. Okay, now this one is actually in good shape. Normally that would be good news, but in this case, it's not. I was really hoping to see some corrosion here. The good news is that it's entirely possible that this is not even the wire that goes to the TCM, and maybe the issue is in one of the other wires. Yeah, so this thing is definitely wetter up here. Potentially we'll need to unwrap this guy. I mean, this is obviously completely untouched. Nobody has ever looked into this. Oh, there we go. There we go, guys. Look at that. This is such good news. So this guy here, as you can see, completely corroded. This thing just fell apart. And this looks like a pretty big wire. We got 2 in, 1 out, and this is definitely a power wire. And chances are, if I had looked up the wiring diagram for this car, I would find out that this wire, it powers the TCM or something along those lines. So let's get rid of this crap, and I'm so excited. This is nicely connected, and slide this bad boy on. And what's good about this is that this should keep it quite a bit more weatherproof than whatever Audi did in the past. Heat this thing up, and not only does that seal this, it also releases the little bit of solder that we have there in the middle, and the solder is just gonna make this connection a little better, a little more secure. Now, just to like make absolute sure that this never happens again, I'm gonna add quite a bit of electrical tape just to seal this up even better. I do kind of hope that the previous owners of this car don't find this video, because I can't imagine how mad I would be if I found out that the reason why I got rid of my car for $1,100 that I could have sold for maybe like $7,000 or $8,000 simply needed this done, and it would have been perfectly fine for who knows how much longer. All right, well, I guess without further ado, we can start this car and see what happens. Come on, please show me gear. All right, ignition on. Yes, we have park. Let's go. Yes, we no longer have the tire pressure monitoring system fault. We do have a check engine light. That's probably for the misfires that we saw previously. It doesn't seem like the misfires are active, so it might just need a little bit of erasing. I'm picking up a tiny bit of vibration from a motor, but nothing significant. And look at this. Yes, we got reverse. We got drive. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm gonna erase my engine codes, and we're gonna take it for a drive. I cannot wait. Guys, we got this car for an $1,100 bid. With delivery and fees and everything like that, I paid a total of like maybe $2,100 to $2,100 for this car. Sure, it has 190,000 miles, but it doesn't run like it has that many miles. It runs phenomenally. We have heated steering wheel, we have heated seats, we have navigation. This thing is so good. This is awesome. This is awesome. It's moments like this that make me love cars and loving this business that I've started. Very frequently, it's incredibly stressful and incredibly hard, but times like this, it's all I could ever need. I'll see if I have a oil filter for this car and potentially do an oil change, so that just I sleep better knowing that it has fresh oil and not potentially oil that has like 20,000 miles on it. After some much needed cleaning, I didn't go too deep just because I generally don't really care that much. Oh no, I just killed my battery. Okay, come on, let's try this again. You got this. Yeah, there we go. All right. I just realized that I did miss a very dirty spot. That looks absolutely terrible. But we're gonna have to persevere. What I'm noticing is that for some reason I can't get the screen to turn on anymore. It was turning on a lot on me when I was cleaning this all up, because when you click one of these buttons, it'll turn itself on even if the ignition is off. I'm noticing quite a bit of a vibration. When the car is in gear, like in reverse, as it is right now, you might be hearing the sound. I feel it a lot in the steering wheel. And let's see, does it happen in drive? So it only happens in reverse. That is interesting. I wonder if it might be a transmission mount or a motor mount. Those are common to go on these engines, at least in the S4s. Yeah, they're definitely not keeping this car clean. She's a little gross. But look at that. We have this massive sunshade for our panoramic roof. There we go. Yeah, automatic opening. I just like it nice and bright inside cars. What else can we find here? We got garage openers. Haha, I was wondering if that was gonna happen. I feel like frequently people will forget their sunglasses, but unfortunately these are not in a usable condition. Power folding mirrors, no thank you. Oh man, this drives so nice. So nice. The suspension is definitely not perfect in the sense that I got spoiled with the air suspension in the Touareg. That's one of the things that the Touareg has on this car. I'm not really sure if there were specs of these Q7s in the States that had air suspension. Most likely. I haven't seen many, and well, this car definitely doesn't have it. I already checked. So we don't get that. But that means better reliability, kind of a peace of mind sort of thing, because with air suspension, I definitely had some nerves when driving around on long trips, when towing something. I was afraid that I might blow a bag and end up having like a super unevenly loaded trailer and just be in a bit of a scary situation. Another thing that Touaregs have the advantage in is off-roading. Believe it or not, it's actually a pretty capable machine off-road, as we tested in one of my videos. If you'd like to see that, please check that out. That video doesn't get the love it deserves. Besides air suspension, Touaregs can also come with a center locking diff, a rear locking diff, which mine didn't have, and 2-speed transfer case, which is very, very useful for off-roading and sketchy situations like this. This car, however, has significantly more quickness to it. The Touareg, something I really dislike about the Touareg is how slow it is. Both of these cars are around the same weight. The engine in the Touareg, I mean, I'm sure it's got the torque, but the 3.0 supercharged is just such a great motor. It has like 60 more horsepower than the Touareg does, and it is very noticeable. And it's just like the gearing in general also is just like significantly different. I think these Q7s have an 8-speed transmission versus the 6-speed in the Touareg. I mean, it's just so much quicker off the line. I genuinely have issues merging on the highway with the Touareg. Like, I have to go hard on throttle. We're talking like 80%. And it hurts me to do that whenever the car is cold before it's warmed up. So I really dislike that, and glad that that's one of the main reasons I would say that I want to get rid of the Touareg, because it's just slow. It lacks the speed. This thing, woo, easy. I'm doing like 30, not even, maybe 20% throttle, and we're just keeping up with traffic, no problem. It even throws my head back a little bit, if you notice that. So far, no lights on dash. Nothing came back, which is great. That is great news. We're not overheating. We got a full tank of gas. Fantastic. We're doing 80 miles an hour. Smooth as butter. No noises, no vibrations. We're at literally 2200 RPM while doing 80 miles an hour. That is amazing. The Touareg, I think, sits around 3000 RPM, and it's a V8 that eats a lot more gas. Jeez, I feel like I have no choice but to keep this thing. I cannot keep the Touareg instead. I was considering maybe I'll just sell it, make a good amount of money, and buy another Q7. I did not want to drive the Touareg at all after having this. It does have a towing package, which is great. That was one of the big needs for me. But unfortunately, Q7s don't have the towing capacity that the Touaregs do. Another huge selling point of the Q7 is the room. This space in here, compared to the Touareg, is much, much better. Not to mention the fact that we have 3 seating rows. We also have just so much more room in the second row in the back seat. In the Touareg, if I'm in my comfortable driving position, an average adult would have a hard time sitting behind me. So going on road trips in that car was hard if we had like 4 people, 4 adults. Here it's not an issue whatsoever. The second row is adjustable. You can recline, you can slide back and forth a little, and you still get a ton of trunk space with the third row down. I think this would be an amazing road trip car. You can sleep in it if you need to. You have plenty of room for all the gear. And despite the fact that this thing is sitting on 20-inch wheels, it is very comfortable. It is very comfortable. Literally all of our bearings sound perfectly good. There's no noises. It's perfect. It is perfect, guys. And I fixed it for Literally free. I could probably turn around and sell it for 7 grand, even with this mileage, and make a $5,000 profit. That is, it's hard to say that out loud and be like, yeah, no, I'm gonna keep it. Like 5 grand of pure profit very, very quickly with very little work is a lot of money. What's awesome is that this thing is practically a one-owner car. The previous owner had acquired it a year after it was initially sold and at 14,000 miles. There is 0 accidents. There is no issues. Like this is so great. Oh my gosh. I think the Touareg could sense my contemplation and knew that I was thinking of getting rid of it. So when I went to start it, now the symptoms we're experiencing are reminding me a lot of the steering lock control module issue that I've dealt with in one of my previous Touaregs. This is a pretty common problem on them where this module just stops working and it keeps the car from starting. The reason why that seems to be the case is because we don't hear it activate. Here's what it should sound like. But instead we have this. Having dealt with this issue before, I wasn't too worried about doing the repair, as long as I can do it inside and not in the ridiculous cold. And if you're wondering how cold is it outside, my windshield wiper fluid froze. That is wild. The worst part about the steering lock issue is that you're no longer able to shift out of park unless you use the bypass like I did in the Q7, and you also can't even turn your steering wheel, which means that we kind of have to use the wheel dollies to get this thing inside the shop. I just broke a bunch of my wheel dollies. Long story short is that this thing won't freaking move and those wheels are getting shoved into. See how this is bent? This is supposed to be parallel to that flat surface. So basically my Harbor Freight wheel dollies are not loving this. So I have no idea what I'm gonna do here. Guys, I just got incredibly lucky. The steering wheel is unlocked and it's ready to start. Because I had no other options, I just attempted to start it one more time and connected 2 jump starters instead of 1 to make sure to give it enough volts, and what do you know, it just started right up. I honestly kind of miss this thing. She still has some life in her. Now, the chances of the steering lock module still having issues are quite high. So I think what I'm gonna do is get it off the wheel dolly, spark it inside, and then see if the steering lock module gives us issues again, and go from there. Okay, that saved me quite a lot of trouble. That whole debacle with using the Expedition was for nothing, but I'm okay with it. All right, so I got the car into the shop in the easiest way possible by driving it in. Who knew that that would be possible? I have heard that these ELV failures will frequently be like an on and off thing for a little while before it fully fails. So theoretically, it is very, very possible that we do indeed have a bad steering wheel lock module. There are little relays inside of, and sometimes relays can start acting out without fully failing. So there is a slight chance that the steering wheel lock module is indeed going bad. We just got lucky by trying to start it once. I'm currently charging the car. I'm gonna let the battery fully charge. I disconnected it from the rest of the car so that we can give it the best shot possible at getting full charge again. There is a solid chance that all we were dealing with was a battery that was going dead. I was fully prepared to replace our ELV with a simulator. So this is what these guys will look like. I bought 2 just because I figured I'm gonna run into this issue once again sooner or later. I feel like I'm going to end up getting a Touareg sometime soon. And I figured that if this car started having the ELV issue, then chances are that every single Touareg in the world will sooner or later run into this problem. And this is what the repair looks like. You would install this motherboard or whatever, I don't know, is this called a motherboard? Circuit or whatever you'd call this, inside of the steering lock module instead of the circuit that's there right now. And the only complication is that you have to solder in the chip from the old lock module, the circuit that's in there right now. You have to take the chip off and then solder it onto this. And that's kind of risky. It is a bit of a pain in the butt. You have to be incredibly careful because the little legs on the chip are very, very fragile you're dealing with a lot of solder. You need to make sure that these connections are all clean. It's not an easy process, but it is doable. However, if you don't have to, I'm not going to do it. So I've had this battery trying to charge for the last maybe 20 hours or so, and looks like it's not taking charge. So it does seem like we do have a bad battery. Could that have something to do with our steering lock module? Very, very possible. All right, so we have the old battery out. The new battery is installed. It's right under my butt, under the driver's seat. And well, hopefully all we're dealing with is a battery. Hear that? That is our steering lock module disengaging. Looks like it works. Fingers crossed, that's all we were dealing with. I see no reason to believe that it was something else. We are gonna drive this car around a little bit, make sure it's ready for sale. Also, I do need to fix a windshield washer fluid leak. It looks like our leak was coming from this white piece right here. There's a couple of O-rings, and potentially what I think was going on was simply the fact that this little guy popped out or at some point wasn't installed incorrectly. The fluid inside may have frozen and made it push out. Looks like my assumption was correct and we have stopped the leak. Usually it was just collecting over here and dripping off right off of this thing. And well, it's all gone. Zero fluid there now. So I snapped some pictures and listed her up for sale. After about a week on the marketplace, it did sell for $3,000, which is an okay deal for a car like this. The really bad part though is that the Q7 started making this god-awful noise on cold starts for about 2 minutes, which probably means that we're gonna have to pull the motor. And ironically, that's exactly what I had to do with the Touareg after I bought it. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see that, and thank you very much for watching.